Hello everyone, Richard back to show you Warsaw South. This has never been shown before in Ultimate Mode. Maybe it's slightly harder than North, but I ended up using a very similar strategy, but I made some updates on core composition. Didn't bring an 88 gun, didn't bring level bombers, and I had like one more infantry, but I didn't have my 8th artillery piece ready for this battle. And I had a SE infantry that I was going to use as a scapegoat, essentially. And that kind of worked out well, but you really ultimately need, I think, 6 artillery pieces down here, and I think I had 4 with 3 up here. If you don't have enough artillery down here, you run into problems, but, you know, it is what it is. I forgot to level up an 8th artillery piece, and it was kind of a problem. But I got an extra SE infantry to take some damage for me, so it was pretty chaotic at the end, like always. But I think this method will almost guarantee you get a decisive in 14 turns. Unless you get really bad weather. That's the thing. If you get 2 rain turns, a decisive victory is really unlikely. The other difference is I don't have trucks, so that makes things tricky. I'm kind of mimicking what Soren did, but I'm ignoring side objectives because I don't have time to safely get a decisive. Setting a trap. And that was a mistake with the scout. I should have proceeded to do my other plan. I made an adjustment. The scout's going to go around and grab open hexes, and then it helped me in the south. And I think it would have improved some things for me if I hadn't misplayed my scout. But it is what it is. I didn't take huge amounts of damage in the battle. It was just there was more risk involved. There's always risk on this map. That level bomber. Oh. Okay, what you missed. Let me pause here. Okay, this trap is Soren's creation. He positioned everything precisely so you could conveniently kill the fighter and still be able to move. I made a modification to his plan that's actually better. You can trap the 7 TP on turn 1 with 2 Storm Panzers in the north, which pulls it out into the scout. And as you can see, 5 of the 15 strength points disappeared, so this is a significantly easier target to take out now. I wanted to point that out. This is a way better, in my opinion. The Storm Panzer is north, and he brings the Storm Panzer south, but I think the Storm Panzer is better for the trap. I also have slower moving infantry, so I had to like reposition things. But I was basically able to execute his plan with some modifications. But I have 1 too many infantry in the south and 1 less artillery, and I think it's a problem. You'll see that I have an infantry unit that doesn't do a whole lot, whereas I would love to have more artillery. This is okay. Let me pause. Pause. Okay. This fighter trap is a modification to Soren's. I think his fighter is here. I don't remember where he put the bomber. I had to make a modification, or maybe this is exactly the same, but there's ways you can do a modification to this trap. You're going to pull a fighter to attack this level bomber. I have to say that this is probably the biggest improvement on this map is the fighter traps, because it really solves a lot of problems for the player with minimum effort. So I always appreciate that. And I'm going to use the auxiliary units to do a lot of work in the north. Perfect. Oladir sneaking around. I of course upgrade Oladir to a Pioneer. I think on Ultimate mode, being able to avoid rugged defense on that unit is really big. Because it won't reset the... I think if it's a rugged defense, your initiative is 1. So Oladir, unless it's raining or snowing, will never have his initiative stats. So that's why I love him as a Pioneer. He does the tough job for you. I'm not in a hurry with the north so much. No. So there's that fighter trap working. I got lucky there with the infantry, but I managed to pull out the tank gat, which is good. Anytime you can pull out the tank, it's good. Because your tactical bombers can take them out. So, oh, I should mention, let me pause. I had to make a modification to Soren's plan, because something happened where I couldn't set all the traps. So what I do is I gang up on this fighter and use the auxiliary tactical bomber to draw fire. And the anti-aircraft will always target this for some reason. He is going to go back to an airfield. I have a scout that's going to go grab that airfield. So I'm going to be able to take this guy out next turn, fly my stuff to the airfield on turn 5, and take out the last fighter. That's the plan. It's a major modification what Soren did, but I get more combat with my fighters, and I think it's a way. It's a backup way to do the same thing that he did. I don't have background running, so I don't know. So by the end of turn 3, there's already a hole forming, which is nice. So Oladir in turn 3 was able to sneak in and deliver a huge hit in the artillery piece. And I'm trying to severely damage that artillery piece. Yep, so that fighter is going to reinforce this turn. I don't have the airfield yet, so it will fully reinforce, but that's good for my fighters, because it gives me something to kill. And it looks like my fighters are going to run out of fuel, but the scout saves me. So this modification I really like. It's just getting extra prestige and that airfield introduces more tactical opportunities. So yeah, I totally failed there. That was frustrating. Now we need to take out the artillery. And we did. So yeah, so the entire Air Force gets taken out in 5 turns. I think that's pretty good. I think Soren does it in 4. But I couldn't execute his plan precisely, so I had to make a change. And that artillery won't attack your infantry, so you can get away with these kinds of moves. Look at that, 15 extra kills, essentially. So on turn 5, I'm already assaulting, or de-entrenching a major objective. And I have to take that infantry out because it will annoy me later if I don't. First fortification hex. Deer kicking butt, as expected. Not a lot for my tactical bombers to do, so they're just de-entrenching. And I'm actually, oh, I should mention this. This is another change. I am not fighting this area directly. I'm no longer going after the fort. I am swinging around with the plan of hitting it from the side, and I have more solid positions to place units. And this can also draw fire later. You'll see my plans for the auxiliary units. So turn 6 and 2 major objectives are under assault. The entrenchment battles begin. Emergency Stuka to clean that up. I love this. That scout trap is really helpful. I pull out another tank. And that infantry's been sitting there for a while, so rugged defense is extremely likely. Oh, let me pause. 1 second, let me pause. It's so difficult to pause. Let me pause. Okay, so this scout trick is something I didn't do when I did Warsaw, but I highly recommend if you're trying this on ultimate mode to do this. I don't know if Soren did this either, but I sneak in there, I grab this and pull out, and somebody's got to go in and eat it. And this guy attacked my infantry, backed up by 2 pieces of artillery. It got through, and then I got a rugged defense. So this tankette got completely destroyed. Or completely owned based on that trap, and that's great because if you remove the mobility from the middle, it definitely helps. All that happened here was de-entrenching both the artillery and this unit. Suppress the artillery, force it out, clean up the infantry. So This is another major improvement. By cleaning out the infantry, the artillery piece will move up. In fact, now that I think about it, it's stupid that I'm de-entrenching this. I should be de-entrenching this. Or de-entrenching... maybe this would be better. Because this artillery is going to move up. That's a major improvement. Stop de-entrenching this and start de-entrenching this. And you're going to bypass the fort. That will... whoa. There we go. You're going to get to see it happen again. Wow, I just realized that's another major improvement. Since I know the artillery is going to go into that hex, why am I de-entrenching it? Oh, I'm de-entrenching it so my artillery is more effective. Because I need to suppress that artillery so I can safely assault the infantry. Okay, never mind. This does make sense. Hey. Okay, when will you be here? Okay. Sure. Just drop them off at the front step. Okay, cool. Oh, I'm fine. Bye. Okay, so not a lot's happened. Stop doing this. So yeah, that artillery piece moved forward, so now I can easily kill it. And I actually have been ignoring the 8 anti-aircraft because my air units have plenty to do elsewhere. But now I'm paying attention to it. I don't have any background applications running, so I should stop doing that. This is where the backup infantry actually helped, because I could still hold the line because I had a backup infantry. So as you can see, I'm assaulting from this direction and bypassing the fortification, and I think it's more effective. And you'll see that this protects my core later when things get hairy. No, I have to break this fortification. But it's not going well. That artillery piece has got to go. infantry also has to go. Yeah, that didn't go very well. I'm starting to realize I have a time pressure issue here, so I am pushing hard. So I'm about to flood into the middle. Then the AI helped me here by having that infantry attack. That sucked. Constantly draining it of ammo. I'm exploiting the fact the infantry right here don't activate for a while, so my artillery is exposed but nothing can get to it, for now. Now that they've moved around, I can start trying to force surrenders. Oh, the deer failed me. I was surprised the tank attacked that. So my scout took a beating here. The AI behavior was pretty wild. I don't know why it didn't attack my 5-strength infantry. This scout's offering combat to a bunch of units. So this de-entrenches them and just makes life easier for me. Now I don't care anymore. My auxiliary units are there to be eaten alive by the enemy. So the 7 TP's gone. That's great. Next is cavalry. Thanks to my Air Force, the auxiliary units are getting enough firepower to actually make progress. Look at my scout moving around, getting all these surrenders. Oops. And that big gun went after the easy target, and now I'm in great shape because it's running out of ammo. So you have till turn 12 to block all the major hexes. So I recommend you do that. And I'm well primed to do that here. So Oladir shows up, which is nice. I want that artillery to fire its last shot to make life a lot easier. And I'm using the trick of bombing the major hex with a unit, and that draws the AA fire. It seems to work every time. I'll show you an exception at Spoils of War. And I think I have a logical explanation for when it doesn't work. So what ends up happening is I can easily de-entrench that unit because I have auxiliary planes that can constantly hover over it, and it actually makes this scenario much easier getting that objective. And then I occupy... Oh, I achieved a decisive victory in 13 turns if I wanted. I have a unit that can surely... Yeah. Oh, I messed up. I could... That's why it took an extra turn. You can see that a decisive victory in 13 turns is possible, and it would be best if you did that. If my scout hadn't been so badly damaged, I might have been able to do that. Wow, a decisive victory in 13 turns is crazy. I recommend you do that because it's less chaos on turn 14. With a little bit better planning, I could have done it. But you can see my auxiliary units are available to take fire, especially that artillery. So that will reduce the pressure on my units. I don't think I took any damage on the 14th turn. But it would have been cleaner if I had done it in 13. It's pretty crazy. This guy activated and snagged it. If he hadn't done that, I would have had decisive victory in 13 turns. Wow, it's definitely possible to do this in 13 turns, which I highly recommend you do. Not much left of auxiliaries. My planes took a beating. So I took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Plus 2 is 9. Plus 1 on Olivier is 11. Plus 5 here is 16. 1 on him is 17. 1 on one of my artilleries is 18. And then I think it took 19 on one of my mountains. So it looks like I took 19 total damage playing the scenario. And I think I could probably reduce that a little bit by playing better, but 19 total damage is extremely impressive. And with a little bit of luck, it could have been reduced significantly. I had plenty of luck, though. I can't complain. This is pretty good. This is Warsaw South. I introduced a few new concepts and actually realized as I was watching the replay that there's more I could have done. I could have put an infantry in here. I could have planned that better to put an infantry in here on turn 13. And